Welcome to Getting Ghosted. This is an Intuitive Soul Collective podcast, and I'm your host, Allie Horner. Welcome back, everybody. I'm excited for today's episode because we are finally continuing this edition of the women that history tried to erase. This is going to be a fun segment that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to try to do this much more frequently because I love channeling people from the other side and bringing through their wisdom and perspective now that they're in the afterlife, now that they've passed on. And there are so many women throughout history that we just didn't get to learn about when we were growing up in history class. And now there are more and more books and podcasts and fun things coming out about these amazing women who got erased by history. And so, as you guys know, often when I start to read about certain people from history, or if I read a book by an author who's passed away, or if I watch a film that's like a biographical film about someone or based on a true story, often that person will come through from the other side and they'll start to comment and they'll start to share their perspectives and what it was like for them and all of that fun stuff. And so I recently got the Women's History of the Modern World, which, shameless plug, you can get it from my TikTok shop links, but you can also probably find it in your local library, or you could find it probably on Libby, which is the public libraries, basically their version of Audible, etc. I think it's on there. Don't quote me on that, but you could find it from elsewhere if you prefer. And so as I was reading through, I kind of just picked a random section. I used to love learning about World War II stuff when I was younger. And the page I landed on was about the female spies from World War II. And Virginia Hall, of course, came up. And as soon as I started reading about her, I felt chills all the way down my back. And I went, bingo, we have a visitor. So today's channeling will be with World War II spy Virginia Hall. Okay, so I have Virginia here, and she is showing me her leg because if you don't know anything about Virginia, she was a very wanted spy by the Nazis in World War II because she was able to sneak in and out of, from what I understand, she would spend a lot of time in France. Spying there, and she was part of helping select which beaches could be used for the D-Day invasion, and among many, many, many other things that she coordinated and helped with. And so she also, when she was younger, she had lost a leg in a hunting accident, from what I understand. And so she had a brass leg, or brass prosthetic, I guess you could say. And she's showing me, look, my leg. And she's showing me how in spirit her leg is perfectly intact and everything's all fine now. Like she's got her legs back, which I think is super cute because she was very eager to show that to me right away. And she said, I just want them to know that I served my time and I served it well. And she said, I was here for many other reasons, to be a spy because there weren't many other ways for a woman to serve she's saying in like our military. And she's saying she tried to get a job, maybe in the State Department or in politics, something like that. But she wasn't able to because of her prosthetic leg. And so she said she got turned down time and time again by men from jobs that she wanted. But the one thing she was able to do really, really well was to be a female spy during the war because the Nazis didn't suspect female spies, especially in the beginning, but eventually she keeps showing herself in a most wanted poster. And she said she became one of the most wanted female spies of the Nazis, of the Gestapo, because she was so powerful and so prominent. And she was able to coordinate so much for the US and the British. And she's saying, because I was less assuming, like Nazis didn't expect women like me to be doing these things. They didn't expect us to be involved in the war. They didn't expect us to be doing anything. So it was easy for us to sneak in and out. They didn't suspect us. And she said eventually she did really have to change her appearance more and more as she went because she started to become known to the spies more and more. So she had to change her appearance and she went to great lengths to do so. But she is showing me a French milkmaid's dress. And she's saying that she had different costumes or outfits that she would wear that allowed her to slip in and out of different places seamlessly and easily. And she said, I want you to notice something very distinct that is happening at this time in history. And she said, I used the French milkmaid's dress to be able to spy very easily because the Nazis weren't going to be looking for someone who would be well dressed and very pretty. And she said, and she's showing like almost like sexy. And she said, and they weren't suspecting women in the first place because they had very misogynistic points of view. So they weren't suspecting women who were, just pretty little women doing, chores or whatever outdoors to be spying or to be coordinating any efforts. She said they didn't think we had brains. And then she's showing now there's no coincidence. And she said there are no coincidences. Everything is a synchronicity. Nothing is by chance in this universe. And you must know that before I say what I'm going to say next. There's no coincidence in the fact that I used a French milkmaid dress to be able to spy without being seen, without being suspected, and without being caught. And the fact that these dresses have made their way back around into your fashion at this point in time, it is almost as if the universe and the world around you is trying to give many of you signals that it is time. Again, use your innocence, use your sweets, she's saying like you're still able to do this in your own ways. And she said, there's no coincidence that this is being brought around again. And she said, I understand that for you, it might symbolize some other things for many of you, that you see it as a symbol of a cultural shift that is going backwards. And she said, but remember that when people don't suspect you, you're able sometimes to accomplish a lot more. Sometimes being seen and heard is the right thing, and using your voices and being heard to affect change and impact change or impact the world around you is important and vital. And she said, but for many of you, your work will still be silent and going on behind the scenes, and it is just as important and as impactful as anyone else's. And she said, one of the lessons that I learned in my lifetime was to be brave and to have courage, to trust what I knew, and that I would use my spidey senses to be able to sense things out ahead, to be able to sense where to go and what to do and what to say and to whom. And she said, I was a deeply intuitive woman, but I also used the sign. She's using her mind, and she said her tapping on her temple. My mind, I had fortitude, I had strength, I was curious, I loved to learn. And when I put my mind to things, I was able to figure out in advance where the plan should take us and where things should go. She said, I was also very good, like she's showing operationally. And she said, but I also had a women's intuition, a women's wit, and I knew. She's saying the word vigor. I had moxie. And she said, I was definitely the type of person that they wouldn't suspect. So I was able to get in and out of places easily as well. And she said, can you think of no possibilities in which this might be valuable to you now? And she said, remember that when you are unassuming, no one suspects anything of you. So you are able to do what you need to do much more easily with a well-placed hand or a light disguise or a little bit of interest in someone. And she's saying, not that you need it quite to this effect or impact right now, but she said, it is the same thing that often we must do what we are called to do in order to impact positive change and to help the world and the future that is to come. And she's saying there were many women who were spies in our outfit. She's saying like their outfit, their group. And she's showing outfit being like their community. And she said, because no one suspected us, because they thought women small and scared. And she said, and sure, we were good at acting this way too, to make people not suspect us. And she said, but we worked together very well. And soon she's showing more and more men in these in the service who respected them more and more. And I was asking her, is there anything in particular that you felt like you were here, like anything that you really learned or a big takeaway you had from this lifetime? And she said, no one really knows their purpose until they do. No one knows what they came here for or how important they are until they see it. It's almost like you have to walk right into it to know it. And she's showing someone trying to walk through a glass door. It's like they couldn't see it there. You know what I mean? But they walk right into it anyways, and they go, oh man. And she said, that's kind of how purpose is. She said, there will be this longing And there will also be signs and clues in the world around you, planted strategically throughout your life to help you recognize who you are and what you're here to do and what you're here to be. There will be synchronicities, there will be chances, there will be all sorts of things that you are drawn to and pulled to, that you intuit, that you know. You will also wrestle with this, most likely. Many people wrestle with this. So everyone listening, I want you to know that if you have not found your answer yet, it's because it's okay and the timing will come in which you cannot deny it any longer. You know who you are and you know what you are meant to do. Once you find that thing, it will be difficult to deny it, but you will have many challenges. For many of you, you will have people that don't have faith in you. And she's saying, like, she's showing like spouses, parents, friends who are unsure and aren't aligned with your values or what your calling is. And she said, but for some of you, you're here as change agents and change makers. And so just remember that it takes many, many people to affect great change. It takes many, many people doing all sorts of roles, no matter how big or how small, to impact the world around them. It's important that you're remembering this so that you do not feel scared and that you are unimportant. And she keeps saying, don't let fear hold you back. Fear is not who you are. Fear is in the collective mind, but it is not the reality that is here. Fear has been used to control you, and war has been used to fearmonger you so that you are too scared to impact anything or anyone. But we all have a purpose and we all have a calling, and many of you are here for this point in time because you wanted to be here to impact great change in your own unique little ways. There is no way that is too small. Some of you will be more behind the scenes, while some of you will be out in front or out in public a little bit more known. Many of you will be working diligently in ways that you did not even suspect yet to impact the great change that will happen in the world. The shift in consciousness is upon you, and it's important that you remember this now. And she's showing how her and all of these people were working behind the scenes, but no one suspected it. And she said, remember, I was turned down initially for the jobs I thought I wanted. And she's showing me like trying to go into government buildings, to get involved, and them being like, no, maybe she was trying to do like filing or be like an assistant, or something like that. But she's saying I was turned down for all of these jobs because of my appearance. And she said, but the one thing I thought was my weakness, and she's showing her prosthetic leg. She said, the one thing I thought was my weakness actually ended up becoming my greatest asset. Who's going to suspect the little old woman with the little wooden leg or the brass leg? And she said, no one would ever suspect that person to be a spy. It took them quite a while to figure out that I was. And she said, and even then I was never caught. I was never apprehended, she said, not really. And so she's saying, many of you will have a longing and a pull, and you may even be rejected from the things you think are your calling, just like I was for my job in the State Department. But that didn't mean that I couldn't end up becoming that spy. And she said, I ended up having far more power than I ever believed I could have, in being the spy. And she said, like, the way that I worked, the way that my mind worked became a great asset to them, to the allies. And she is saying, so many of you will have nudges and you will have pulls and you will feel like, I thought I was really supposed to do this. This is what really, really, really felt right. Why isn't it working out? And she said, it's often that you are just getting going in the right direction. And so it'll almost be like dangling a carrot for a beloved pet to come and munch on. You're just trying to get them to come back in the house from outside after they've been out too long in the sun. So you dangle the carrot from inside the house and say, come in, come and get a treat. And they're coming in for the treat, but really the purpose is just to get them in the house. The treat is just the incentive, the little thing to get them there, right? And I said, sure, got it. And she said, so many of you will be drawn toward things, or incentivized by certain things, and they will be on the path toward your calling and your purpose, toward that knowing of who you're here to be and what you're here to do. So watch for those things and do not deny the things that you feel called toward in the moment. Even if they don't pan out the way that you thought you wanted them to or the way you thought they were supposed to, it's okay, because you are still moving closer and closer to the things that you're actually really here to do. That is just your soul's way of dangling the carrot to get you to come inside, to get you to come closer, to get you to get on the right path. And she said, the only way to truly be on the wrong path is to do nothing and deny yourself all of which you are interested in, all of the wonderful things that you find inviting, inspiring, and alive in you, and to deny what you feel called to do. She keeps saying, calling purpose, and she's putting her hand over her heart. And she said, it comes from the heart. It is a deep knowing. There is no other knowing. There is no other way. And she said, for those who feel that calling, there is no other possibility within them. And she said, you know it when you feel it. It feels deep within your bones. And she said, so when you are moving toward things or toward people or toward places that do not come from this deep knowing, this deep pull, she said, like this really deep, like calling within you, you know that they are not meant to stay on your path and you do not need to be distracted by them. And she said, this is where you will find so much more happiness and flow and faith and freedom is just by going with the flow and noticing what the calling and the purpose is. And if you think it's supposed to lead one way, allow it to stay open and allow the calling to keep taking you. And she said, do not deny yourselves the truth. You know who you are and what you came for. And so she's starting to step back a little bit. But that was super cool. And it's such a good message. It's a good reminder for, I think, a lot of people, because a lot of people are really wrestling with their careers right now. I pay attention to themes that come up when I do readings, and I do lots of readings every week, especially on like TikTok Live and then private readings and stuff like that. And so what has been happening more and more is I've been noticing that, there's been a lot of stuff about career coming up for the last couple of years really intensely. Whereas when I used to do readings on Facebook Live way back in the day before TikTok existed, people would ask about their jobs or their work sometimes, but it wasn't like all the time. Like I did a lot of work, readings for people who were starting businesses, but a lot of the time people weren't like waffling over what to do in their careers as much. I noticed it was more like they were inspired and they were taking action, and that's when they would find me. It wasn't as much in the wondering about their career phase. And I'm noticing there's a lot of people who feel very despondent and they're wondering, like they feel like there's big change coming in their career and this isn't enough. And that's also part of the Great Awakening too. We're changing a lot of cultural constructs around what does it mean to even have a career? And are we all supposed to have careers, or are we supposed to be doing work and things in different ways? So anyhow, so for her, it's a great message. I think it was a wonderful message for her to give us, because we need that reminder that what we're feeling called toward or pulled toward is really, really, really important. And she's also chiming back in saying, and the discernment from it, it will keep you from getting distracted or getting caught, ending up in the wrong place. And she's showing like crossfire from her life. It was really a very real possibility that she could end up, getting killed or ending up in the crossfire, getting caught. And she said, so following my instincts, my intuitions, my discernment was incredibly important. I had to stay the path. I had to stay the course. And she said, there were many times when I could have been overrun by fear and like been like a deer in headlights, she's saying. She said, but my calling was so pure and was so true to me that my intuition reigned supreme, and I just kept leaning into it. She's showing herself almost like having faith or having some degree of like a prayer with things that would keep her on track. And she keeps saying that fortitude and that strength really beamed through me and made it clearer and clearer what I needed to do. And she said, when I knew, and the fear couldn't come in and it couldn't control me. And she keeps saying this is really important to remember, because many of you are letting yourselves be overrun by fear, and you need to start to look in the world around you and say, is there actually anything right here, right now to be afraid of? You need to come back to yourself and to your soul. Listen. Your soul will tell you where to go, what to do, what to say, and to whom, and it will help you to keep safe. It will help you not just to stay alive or keep safe, but to actually thrive and to affect positive change that can help other people. That is what the soul really is trying to guide many of you to do, but you are falling victim to fear. And fear is really the stranger here. It is not the true self. It is not the soul self. Fear is simply a collective wavelength in the minds of men, and there are many people who control you through this or try to control you, but it is your choice to not allow that. And she's showing like, put the phone down, walk away. Don't stay in the fear zone. She's showing also like be mindful how much fearful content you're taking in, even if it's for entertainment. And she said like, begin to work with your mind, begin to work with your body. You all have deeper purpose and deeper calling, and your purpose and calling will come from things that are far better for you and for others, and that come from love. And she said, my calling truly was from love. she said, I wouldn't have had the courage to do what I did otherwise. And she said, when I knew something was really right for me, I didn't even really need as much courage. It was more like I had an inner strength, like something was guiding me forward all the time. And she said, so fear could not come in and assuage me otherwise or tell me to stop. And she said, if I had listened to my fears, I would have made a lot of wrong decisions and I likely would not have lived as long as I did. So she keeps saying it's incredibly important that you are listening, that you know the truth of who you are, and you know how to listen to truth over the voice of fear in your minds. And she said, again, remember that the voice of truth and love and kindness is always there within you. This voice will always call you forward to create new things, to meet new people, to be in the right place at the right time. But are you listening? Are you able to hear it? Are you dimming the lights and turning off the television? Are you sitting down with your favorite music on, with a notebook, asking your teachers in the beyond, asking your guides, asking your friends who are in spirit to come and to help you? Are you asking for clarity? Are you giving your brain a break? She said, give your mind a break from everything. She said, are you going out? Are you listening to nature? She said, the trees are always speaking to you. The trees are always talking. If you get quiet and you listen to the sounds around you and to the silence, you will begin to know things that previously felt like you could not know. And you will know it completely through your whole body, through your core, deeply, without explanation. This is your intuition. This, I am telling you, is holy ground. You are sacred space. You are the sacred area in which the energy can come through and can break through your defenses, and the mind of fear will wash away. You will know exactly who you are here to be and what needs to be done at any given time. Do not let your fears take over. Keep tuning in to the mind and heart of love, and you will be filled with enough strength and energy and fortitude to go forth and to prosper. So, this was a lovely message today. I'm so happy that you guys are listening to this. If you want me to channel some more women from history that history tried to erase, by the way, I know Virginia Hall is popular enough, enough people know of her, but there are a lot of people who never learned of her. She was not talked about in our history books. I ended up hearing about her on my own in my 30s. So, yeah. It is, but I think all of this is super, super cool. So if there's anyone else women that you want channeled for their afterlife wisdom or perspective, feel free to use the link in the show notes. You can submit questions or requests for the podcast. And I will try to channel as many people as I can. I will keep a running list and go through them one by one. Keep in mind, I can't always guarantee that someone will come through, but we can always try our best and see, if they will be willing to come and chit chat. Anyhow, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. I hope it's helpful for you, and I hope you guys are getting something out of it. And I hope you'll come back and listen more in the future.